The views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of WPSL, but you're allowed to like and share them on Facebook. And speaking of Facebook, I saw something today that I'll bring up once we get the show started, but it's time for Howard Insurance of Port St. Lucie to present the African American Scene, heard every Wednesday evening at this time and hosted by Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on a Wednesday night. My. We've got a lot going on. We have the historical impeachment trial going on, and I have a couple things to say about that, and hopefully you will too. I first want to thank Chuck, though, for bringing up the New Yorker article last week, because that lends credibility to the information I present to you. He went out there and found it and saw that what I was saying to you was true, and I appreciate that.
See what happens with a little research, folks?
Yeah. I appreciate that, because what my listeners got a chance to find out is that I don't just give you stuff like some people do that do a show. They give you stuff. I research stuff and give you stuff. So how's that for an explanation?
I love what was posted on your Facebook today. It was like a poll or something, but what it ended up saying was how many people who hate Rudy Howard and how many people who love Rudy Howard.
Oh, yeah, right.
And there were like 600 people who love Rudy Howard, and there were only 3 that hated him. And I thought for a minute, I bet I know who they are. And I read down there, Rudy commented the same thing.
Yes, I did.
We could name every one of them,
I
couldn't we?
bet you I could, yeah. No question, yeah.
Oh,
But anyway, we're going to do an unofficial Rudy poll tonight. We haven't done one in a while.
I've got extra paper for that.
Okay. And here's the poll.
Okay.
It is now January. We are in the year of the new election. And I would like for you to tell me, as of today, who are you voting for in the upcoming presidential election? And I will give you the results at the end of the show. So you can call up and give me your vote on 340-1590. Just tell me who you're going to vote for, whether it's Trump or Biden or whoever. Just say, I'm voting for so-and-so. And you're welcome to make a comment.
Whether or not that they've actually been nominated to run, right?
Right.
Okay.
As of right now, because we don't have the final nominations in place.
Who is your pick?
Who's your pick? Yes. Okay. Now, I have been, unfortunately, the political junkie that I am, I have been paying close attention to what's going on with this trial in the Senate. My wife told me she would kill me if I didn't turn that off when she went into the bedroom.
Oh, no.
She was like, please, I do not want to go to bed with that stuff on. I said, okay. So I turn it off when she comes in the bedroom. Otherwise, my political junkie self is constantly looking at what's happening with that. Here's my subjects for tonight. Number 1. Do you want to know if the president lied? That's number 1. Do you want to know if the president lied? Number 2, if you were innocent, would you want witnesses on your behalf? Okay, so number 1, do you want to know if the president lied? Number 2, would you want witnesses on your behalf if you were innocent? Number 3, I would like your evaluation of the legal arguments that have been presented thus far from the Democratic side and the conservative side. One thing is blatantly obvious, and you just can't, it just jumps off the screen at you. The diversity on the Democratic side versus the Republican side. It just jumps through the screen at you, the diversity of the two different defense teams. And I want to know, do you care whether our global image has been tarnished? Do you care whether our global image has been tarnished? Like your opinion. So those are my questions for tonight. Oh, and one final. Who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? And we got Dominic on line one. Yes, sir.
Hello, Rudy. How are you?
Good. How about yourself?
I didn't get to wish you Happy New Year, and I know you had a close family death and like that, but hope springs eternal.
Yes, sir.
In answer to your question, number one,
Okay.
do you want to know if the president lied? Rudy, I don't think there's been a president in my lifetime who hasn't lied. Let me give you an example. I was in Laos in 1963 when John F. Kennedy told Walter Cronkite, I can categorically deny there are any United States forces in Laos. Then let's get to the dog and pony show that was the Nixon impeachment that never got tabled. It got tabled. He quit. Then let's go on to Ronald Reagan and the Iran-Contra. Uh-oh. Did I lose you?
No, you're fine.
Oh, yeah. The Iran-Contra nonsense. Senator, I don't recall. I'm sorry. Could you rephrase the question? And then now what we have is two political parties that are more interested in keeping their own career of collecting lobby envelopes and the whole idea of what is important to us, the people. They don't care what's important to us, the people. They care what's important to them. Now, this whole charade that's going on right now, it's laughable, but it could be the death knell of McConnell and some of those others who have shown themselves to be what they are. But let's get away from politics for a second. That I know every February you do Black History Month.
Yes, sir.
Poetic Justice Books and Arts in the Morningside Plaza wants to be the sponsor for 2 of your trivia contests, and the winner gets to come in the store and pick any book they want. Aside from the $100 art books, we're a small business. We're struggling. Outfits like Amazon are making it harder for little independent bookstores to survive. But we're the community. We live here. We spend money here. We vote here. That's, who we got to support.
Well, I am honored that you have agreed to be a sponsor for 2 of my trivia questions in the month of February, and I really, really appreciate you. And
I wish you would make one of the trivia questions. You all know who Jay-Z is. How many of you know who Franz Fanon is?
Okay, all right.
And what about Chester Himes, Langston Hughes, James Baldwin?
Oh, yeah.
The fact is that culture today, one of the smartest women I know who's published a whole lot of books said, right now the only way to make it is with 59-second YouTube videos.
Right.
Thank you, Rudy.
Thank you, Dominic.
Don't let me hog the airwaves.
Okay, thank you. So isn't that nice? Dominic is going to sponsor 2 of my trivia questions over the month of February, and I'm really, really delighted about this. Don't forget, the unofficial poll tonight is who are you supporting for president? And that's the unofficial Rudy poll.
We've had 2 responses so far, but we're going to keep it a secret till later in the show.
Okay, good.
All right.
Again, that number is 340-1590. That's 340-1590. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's take a quick break. Again, that number is 340-1590. That's 340-1590.
Serving the entire Treasure Coast, Howard Insurance and Associates in Port St. Lucie offers a wide variety of insurance products, along with the very best customer service. Whether you're shopping for the best homeowners coverage at the most affordable value, contact Rudy Howard's team at Howard Insurance and Associates. If you need coverage for your vehicle, call Howard Insurance and Associates, 343-9878. That's 343-9878. Maybe you're planning to add a boat, motorcycle, or RV. Call Howard Insurance and Associates for your free quote at 343-9878 and get the coverage you need at a cost that will fit your budget. For home or business, auto or recreational vehicle, choose Howard Insurance and Associates, 600 Southwest Darwin Boulevard, Suite 206, Port St. Lucie. And for your free rate quote, call them at 343-9878, 343-9878.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
We have surprises coming out of nowhere sometimes around here. Welcome back to the African American Scene. Once again, here's your host, Rudy Howard.
I got to tell you, I had such a nice surprise. One of my listeners came by just now and bought me 2 books from Andy Purvis. He writes books about our great sports heroes. And I will enjoy this because I'm reading heavy stuff all the time, and I think I will really enjoy this. And he suggested I let my son read one of these books, and I certainly will. I think he will enjoy it as well. And we have John on line 1. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Howard.
Yes, sir.
It's John.
Yes. Hey, John Lombard. How are you, sir?
I'm okay.
You got to keep your jokes. You got to keep your jokes clean because you're on the radio.
I don't know any clean one.
Never told a clean one anyway, right? No. I got my hand on the
button. I can tell you why I wasn't breastfed.
Oh no! Don't start, John.
Okay, my mother said she just liked me as a friend.
Okay, all right.
Oh boy. Okay.
The first question. I think it's a little too soon to choose someone. I'm going to vote for a Democrat. But I would like Bloomberg if he wasn't as old as he is, to be honest with you.
Okay.
That's my opinion about that.
All right.
Biden's okay too. What was the other questions you had?
I said,
one at a time.
I said, would you want to have witnesses if you were innocent of a situation? Would you want?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, sometimes you're advised not to get up on the stand and defend yourself. But if you have witnesses and they're solid and you're not hiding anything, I think that's the right way to go.
Yeah.
You know, there's an old saying, it's hard to get a fair trial with all this evidence.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The other thing I said was, how would you evaluate the legal teams that have been presenting the case thus far, Democrat versus Republican?
I thought they're doing a good job. You know, it's always pros and cons. You never know if either side is accurate or telling the exact truth. They like to embellish, especially I hate to say it, it sounds like I'm, one-sided, and I probably am somewhat. Try to keep an open mind and judge after the facts, and there's another saying, it's not the facts, it's the conclusions drawn from the facts that sometimes causes the trouble,
Yeah.
But the thing is that I was very surprised at Dershowitz. I know he's a lawyer and he's got to defend, but then I heard some of his background, and he's defended some of the very worst, and some of the quotes from way back when are very disheartening.
I won't hold that against him because
we offer that as Americans.
even bad people deserve a defense. So I won't hold that against.
I understand that. I do.
What I will hold against him is his hypocrisy from some of the statements that he's made 20 years ago and the statements that he's making now. And,
Right,
most
yeah.
legal scholars disagree with his statement vehemently about abuse of power cannot be an impeachable offense. That's, I don't even know where you can come up with that. I'm not even a lawyer, and I think that's just bizarre, that statement. And
They just throw it out there trying to influence. I want to tell you, the sad part of this is it's going to go to the Senate, and the Senate's not going to do anything about it. You know that. It's not going to go anywhere past the Senate. They're never going to impeach him. They're not going to be impartial or fair-minded or stick by their oath.
Well, and let me say this, because you said something earlier, and I don't want to take issue with it, because in a certain sense I agree with it. Am I partial to Democratic policies and philosophies? The answer is yes. Could I sit there and listen to facts and come to a conclusion that would be based on facts? And my answer to that is yes. I am fully capable of absorbing the information and coming to a decision that would not be totally political, but would be based on facts. And unfortunately, I think our tribalism that has caused us such a great divide in this country is based on tribalism and not on facts.
Well, what you're saying is, is very honorable and very difficult to do. You really don't want to hear negative stuff about someone you're supporting, or if you're, a guy in the wool, a Republican or a Democrat, you don't want to hear your candidate badmouth. The problem is this. I've kind of always been fair-minded, open-minded. I always listen to both sides. Then I make a decision. I make, my judgment. But it seems like, if Obama did something wrong, I would acknowledge it. I would know it's wrong. I know right from wrong. I know what's right and what's wrong. I have a conscience. I have a good heart, hopefully. But no matter what he does, how bad it is, how wrong it is, they defend it and support him, and they overlook it. They don't even discuss it.
I don't get that. That's just wrong. Like the Obama's line in the sand, that was wrong. I totally think that was he should have just never made that statement. But once he made that statement, to not follow through, he was wrong. And you won't find a man who's any more supportive of Obama than me, I don't think. But that was wrong.
Yeah. Another thing that annoys me is that, they always compare him with a Democratic president from 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. They're not running for president. They're not the president now. He is. And we need to discuss Trump, the pros and the cons, and they all, when they don't have an honest person, a decent person to defend, they don't discuss it. They compare him with the worst thing that someone else did. If you have to compare your person with the worst person, then you don't have you're not supporting a good candidate. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
Me?
I think some of his things are just absolutely indefensible. And I think people listen to me every week, and many of them think I dislike conservatives. I do not dislike conservatives, but I dislike crap. I dislike conspiracy theories, and I dislike disregarding of facts. Those things really irritate me. But I don't dislike conservatives. I can name some conservatives that I think very highly of. Yeah. And I think there is a place in our political structure for conservatism, because conservatism, when it meshes with progressivism, the two sides often come up with solutions when they're in a compromise mode that can be beneficial to us as a nation. But I got to let you go, John. I got another caller coming.
Okay. All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for letting me on.
Okay. Thanks, John. And we got Steve on line 1. Yes, sir.
Hey, Rudy. This is Steve. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too.
How you doing?
Good, good.
I'm glad. Did you have a chance maybe to read the book I gave you?
No, I have not. I've got 3 more books before that.
Okay. I got another one for you to look into. It's called The Coddling of the American Mind. Really good book. I just almost got it finished, but it's a really good book about thinking. But I've watched the impeachment hearings pretty much, and I'd like to suggest to you that on the first thing is that when you say you look at the diversity factor, well, you have to, I try to be a critical thinker and look at both sides. When you try to say that diversity is something that you want to see, you're also in the same sentence thinking about stereotyping people by diversity. Diversity just by looks is not what we consider to be diverse, because we all have different views and the same. But what I like to do is go back and get you to think maybe about this, and this is just a little different perspective on what I'm thinking. The Democrats and the progressives and the liberals in this impeachment hearing have based an argument to one point of view that Trump tried to abuse his power for political gain. And that's just the base argument. I mean, that's where all their information, that's where all their power is, and that's where why they want to impeach Trump from what they say in the hearing. But we have to understand, if that's the situation, that the situation that he was using the power was that he was going after Biden's son. So if you look at that, if that's Biden going after Biden's son, then there's only 2 possibilities that exist on that front. One is Biden's son was innocent of everything, or Biden's son was guilty of something. And on those 2 face facts, there's only one that's going to benefit President Trump. That would be that Biden's son in some way has corrupted or laundered money, or he's doing something that's not beneficial to the United States, or he's being used by his father or whatever, all the way down the line, that would insinuate guilt. So if that's the case for the impeachment, then the Democrats in their case right now are saying that really Biden's son has to be guilty of something, because if he wasn't, it wouldn't be beneficial to Trump's case in impeachment. So that's just kind of looking at it in a critical point of view.
What are you talking about? You just said something that absolutely makes no sense.
Okay, tell me why.
That the argument for Democrats is because Biden's son has to be guilty of something?
No, they are saying that Trump abused his power I go through the whole thing. Trump abused his power trying to get stuff on Biden's son so that it was going to actually hurt the relationship if he was going to withhold funds, which he didn't. So
he
didn't withhold them.
He did withhold them funds.
He was trying to get political gain.
Have you listened to any of the testimony? Now, this is what makes me mad. This is what really pisses me off. You have listened. If you have listened, you cannot say that he did not withhold funds. If you say he did not withhold funds, you are sticking your... No, be quiet for a second. Because you can make your argument, but don't say something that's not true. He withheld the funds. The evidence is overwhelming that he withheld the funds. Now, you can make all the other arguments that you want. Doesn't matter how long he held funds. He withheld funds from the country, and that's a fact. There's no disputing that.
Okay, but you're taking the argument off the playing field. If he was withholding funds, he had a purpose behind it. Its purpose was political gain. That's what I said. It has nothing to do with withholding the funds. It was for political gain. The withholding funds has nothing to do with the argument of abuse of power. The argument is he abused his power for political gain. That's the argument. You're trying to take an individual point that goes all along the same line I am talking about.
No, you're trying to separate. If he withheld funds, and you're saying if he withheld funds, it was not for political purposes.
What was it for?
It was for political purposes.
Okay.
He wanted to get information. He wanted to smudge Joe Biden's reputation. That was the purpose. He wanted to smudge his reputation.
And if his son did nothing wrong, there's no gain for him to try to find out. If he did find out and there was nothing wrong, he gains nothing. It helps him not at all. The only reason it gives Trump political gain is if Joe Biden's son or Joe Biden are involved in a way that it's negative. Because if it's positive, it's positive for Joe Biden.
But you
can't separate those two.
You're missing the point. Because you did it to Hillary. You investigated Benghazi ad infinitum. Even though she was never found guilty of anything, you kept the specter of her guilt out there in such a prolonged fashion that it began to create doubt in people's minds about her integrity and her worthiness to hold office. There is no doubt in my mind that, and I am not a great Hillary supporter, but that was damaging as heck that you just kept making those investigations. So don't tell me that it doesn't. It can have an effect.
Rudy, I'm trying to. This is the issue right now. The impeachment has nothing to do with Hillary, has nothing to do with Mueller, has nothing to do with. The point being, the charge against him, if you listen to the charges, is that he abused his power for political gain. That's it. That's in a nutshell.
That's not all of it, but okay.
But that's the base.
That's Article 1. What's Article 2 about? What's Article 2 about?
Read it. It's abuse of power.
What's Article 2 about?
Go ahead and explain it to me.
No. If you're coming to me at a point where you're trying to tell me you have knowledge of the situation,
wait a minute.
Educate me. What does Article 2 say about what he did?
Is it a high crime or a misdemeanor? No.
No. Answer the
question. Is it an abuse of power?
Answer the question. What did he do? And what did he do in Article 2? What did he do in Article 2?
I don't think he did anything in Article 2. Okay?
Oh, you don't think he did anything? Prohibiting documents and testimony from people who are in the administration when the Congress has a right by law to investigate a situation is not a obstruction of justice.
Okay, wait just a minute. Let's understand what you just said.
No, answer the question. Answer the question. I'm not going to let you go with gobbledygook babble. I'm going to cut you off and hang up on you.
Let me go with the facts. The facts are what makes up the Congress, the House and the Senate, right? Did he abuse the power also in the Senate? He couldn't have yet. Do you know whether the accusations and all the stuff that the people that were trying to get people into the court and using what's it called when you
subpoena.
I can't think of the thing where it's called when you present somebody to appear before.
A subpoena.
Subpoena. That's the word. The subpoenas have to be in a legal order. Did you listen to the the constitutional lawyer explain how those subpoenas should have been handled, and what Pelosi did outside of those constitutional subpoenas?
You
know, I look at it different than you. Your mind's already made up.
No,
my mind's not already made up.
Your mind is the one that's made up. You cannot absorb facts. You take on a conservative position, and nothing can move you off of there, no matter what the
Rudy,
facts are.
I can say the same thing to you.
But that's not true, though. I can be moved off a position based on facts. I can't be moved off a position based on a hypothetical theory and garbage. That won't move me.
Absolutely, I have to disagree with you.
Well, I've told you that. I've told you that privately, and I've told you this on the radio. I can be moved if you move me on facts, but not on garbage.
And
she is within her rights to issue subpoenas for information and witnesses. That is within her right as the head of the House.
You listen to the constitutional lawyer explain why the citations were not presented in a constitutional way. And in a sense, because they were not done that, Pelosi dropped the process which she was supposed to go through, and she took the case to the American people. She did not go through the process of subpoenas. This trial is trying to be in the American court, in the public. It's not trying to be based on constitutional grounds in a lot of ways.
Have you?
Because every president.
When's the last time you read the Constitution?
Actually, I probably read it about 6 months ago, all of it.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean I remember.
Well, if you read the Constitution, then you will know that she was well within the bounds of the rights set forth in the Constitution.
Only within the grounds of how she was to deliver them.
She was operating within the bounds of the Constitution by the rights so given to her within that document.
Okay, as usual, we get off the subject, and my subject, back to the premise, is all I was trying to explain, that the premise of abuse of power is this. Either Hunter Biden is guilty of something or not guilty of something.
That has nothing to do with this.
Surely it does.
No, it doesn't. It does not. It does not.
Well,
it does not. Don't talk to me about Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden has nothing to do with this.
That's not true.
If you want to say Joe Biden had something to do with this, then yeah, fine. You talk to me about that. Otherwise, don't tell me about Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden didn't have anything to do with this. That was a hoax and a sham.
Now you're making assumptions way beyond what you know. And I'm not making any assumptions other than the premise of critical thinking. Either Trump used his power to try to find out about something about Hunter Biden for his political gain, and that there's only two possibilities exist. This is final. Either he had something to hide or he didn't. And from that, I can only conclude that only one of those would have a political benefit for Trump. That's final.
Okay. We're done for tonight.
Okay, I love you, man. Take care.
Love you too. Yeah,
we can disagree, but I still love you, man.
Yeah, I love you too. All right.
Okay.
Okay, take care. All right.
Wow. I wonder if he saw your Facebook post.
Listen, he gets on that circle, that merry-go-round, and he goes around and around trying to justify a position that's not justifiable.
It's like when my dog chases a car. What's he going to do when he catches one?
Really? It just, I mean, that, and that's the kind of stuff, that's not a conservative argument. That's just garbage. Give me a conservative argument, beat me in the head, and drop the facts on me to make me think. I'm all for that, and I'll think about it. And if I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong. But don't give me garbage, and that's garbage. The Hunter Biden stuff is garbage. That's just pure garbage. But in any event, again, my Rudy poll for tonight is, as of today, who are you supporting for president? And we have had a couple of phone calls, and you don't have to get on the radio. You can just call up and say, as of today, I'm supporting blank. Okay, that number again is 340-1590, 340-1590. Another question. Do you care whether our global image has been tarnished? Does that bother you at all, that our global image may have been tarnished, or do you care if it's tarnished or not? Maybe that doesn't matter to you. If that, I just like your opinion. Does that matter to you? That phone number again is 340-1590. That's 340-1590. And finally, maybe to get on to a somewhat lighter topic, who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? Tell me what you think. Who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? I think that kid in Kansas City is pretty special, I'll tell you that. Very, very interesting. But your thoughts on, I think San Francisco impressed me, but the kid Mahomes, I like, and Andy Reid being the former Eagles coach, I have an affection for Andy Reid, so I guess I have to say that I'm pulling for Kansas City since Andy headed up my beloved Philadelphia Eagles for many years, and this kid, Mahomes, has really impressed me. Give me your thoughts. Who do you think's going to win? And he started out talking about diversity and how the division doesn't mean anything. And I'll share a story with you. This was probably about 15 years ago. About 15 years ago, a guy that I know pretty well here in town was telling me that he had been trying to hire some minority staff for his firm. And he had been very unsuccessful. And so he showed me his advertisements and literature that he had been passing out to potential candidates at the various HBCUs and other schools. And the literature was all lily white. There was not a brown face on one piece of literature that he was passing out. So I said to him, I said, well, I said, I want you to think about this for a second. I'm a fresh college graduate, law school graduate, looking for a job and scared to death, and you hand me a piece of literature to come join your firm, and there's not a brown face on there. And he looked at me and he said, wow, I never thought about that. And we got Jeff on line one. Yes, Jeff. Yes, sir.
You just asked if I was, as a being an independent voter, if I'm concerned whether or not America's image is tarnished or not.
Yes.
Who in the world would even assume that we are tarnished? We are got the number one economy in the world. We have done nothing but make friends with everybody out there, other than a bunch of Arabs over there that's trying to kill us. And I just sit there and think, you know, the whole thing, and it bears down to this, and I'll tell you what I feel down my heart.
Okay.
If it's not done by the Democrats, it's wrong. They started out day one, since the day Donald Trump didn't even get started. And the Democrats are screaming, we're going to impeach him, we're going to impeach him, they didn't even give him a chance out of the hole. You go back and you look at everything. Maxine Waters got up there and said somebody should shoot him. Now, you tell me for 1 second that man had a snowball chance in hell. If he wasn't Donald Trump, he would have been running for the woods right now with his tail feathers stuck between his legs. But since he's Donald Trump and he's got that flame about him, You guys are really upset because you can't get him, and that's all I got to say on it. Because you keep trying to get him on something. You gotta get him. That's what that whole Democratic Party's working on right now. They want to get Donald Trump.
Don't hang up. Don't hang up. Let me give me.
That thinks this.
Yeah, but no. Let me respond to your statement. We did not hold. Hold on. Let me just respond to your statement. We did not hold a meeting the night of the inauguration with powers that be in the Congress and say, we pledge to do nothing that the president wants to do as they did when Obama was elected. Nothing.
Did anybody offer to help him?
Did
anybody else offer to help guide him?
Well, I'm just going to tell you, did they say that? And then you have the leader, you had McConnell come out and say, his number one objective, this was the day the man took office, his number one objective was to make sure President Obama was a one-term president. And you talk about how Donald Trump was mistreated, but you know that here's the difference. Okay, here's the difference. I just want you to hear the difference. The difference is Obama put his head down, stuck his feelings in his back pocket, and he worked his butt off, and he did not harbor animosity or hatred toward anybody. He didn't whine about it. He didn't complain about it. There were people like me more upset about it than he was. So when you call up and tell me about how Trump has been mistreated, I say hooey. And because President Obama got treated like garbage. And I will say this to you, and I think I said this once before. When our President Obama had to stand up and put his birth certificate before the nation, I felt hatred in my heart like I have never felt in my life. Never. That moment when he had to produce his birth certificate, I felt absolute hate. And it took me 72 hours to get over it because that was nothing but an attempt to degrade and humiliate him. He handled that in a way I never could have. I would have punched somebody out. They'd have had me in jail because that was just totally humiliating and degrading. And he handled it with such dignity and grace. He never whined. He didn't say people were against him. He didn't go around beating on his chest talking about how wonderful he was. He handled whatever they threw at him, kept his head down, and kept on working. Don't tell me about feeling sorry for Donald Trump. I don't feel sorry for Donald Trump, and he's a big, crying, whiny baby. Anybody criticize him, he whines, like my son did when he was a little kid. He can't handle any criticism. Too bad for you. You're the President of the United States. You better be able to handle some criticism. President Obama had to handle plenty of it and did so with dignity and grace. And I think Mr. Obama could learn, Mr. Trump could get some lessons from Mr. Obama about how to handle crisis and criticism. I saw President Obama at a conference, and somebody was beginning to say some mean things to him, and one of his handlers was going up there to shut the guy up. He said, no, let the man talk. Can you imagine Trump doing that? Can you imagine Trump say, let the man talk? He'd have threw the man out on his ear. Don't come to me with that. Now you got me all wound up now, telling me about them picking on Trump, and all he does is whine and cry like a little baby. Okay. So much for that. Anyway, that number is 340-1590, and I'm sorry I went off on a little tangent there, but sometimes this stuff gets to me and I just get a little wound up. But hey, who do you think's going to win the Super Bowl? I'm saying I think Kansas City, I guess my heart's with Kansas City because of Andy Reid. And I like the young kid, Mahomes. I think the kid is a tremendous quarterback, and he's going to be with us for a long time, as long as he doesn't get hurt. And here's another one for you to think about. I know most of you are familiar with Zion Williamson, the kid that was at Duke, who got injured in the preseason. He's debuting tonight at 9:30. He's playing his first game. He's coming back from his injury. So that will be exciting. I bet you there'll be a lot of people tuned in to see Zion Williams tonight, that's for sure. But anyway, so who are you supporting for president? So how many calls did we get on that?
Well, I don't think folks want to publicly make their answer because, it starts fights and stuff. We've heard that already.
Yes, we have, yeah.
But, we had one caller call in and say he's going to vote for Bloomberg. And then there were 4 other callers, and you can guess.
I would assume they were all Trumpers.
Trumpets.
Yeah.
Hey, you're onto something there.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's 4-1 right now, and there wouldn't be enough votes to matter, folks. So don't worry about it. Just a poll.
Yeah, it's just it's a Rudy poll.
What do you expect, though? This is mostly the radio shows on this station are
It's
mostly
conservative. Yes, right.
And these folks, they listen to like Rush Limbaugh and Tom Sullivan, and they find Rudy Howard as here's a kid we can beat up to get all those frustrations from listening to Rush and Tom all day, and that goes with the territory.
Yeah, we can handle it.
We roll with the punches.
Yes, we do. And listen, I think there are some basis for people to have some dissatisfaction with the way things have gone, and there's just no question about it. I certainly have some dissatisfaction with the way some things have gone under both Democratic and Republican administrations. But I am of the opinion, and Jeff seems to feel, that our global image has not suffered at all. I would contend, and it's just my opinion, that our global image has been tarnished. And why does that matter? In the past, if we went to our allies and said, here's the situation, we need your help, there would be almost no delay, no knee-jerk reaction. They would step to the fore and want to help us. Mm-hmm. Not anymore. Because of the less than honest responses that they've heard coming from our country, now they want to be able to verify and know for sure that whatever it is that they're getting involved in is what they say it is. And I won't blame all of that on Trump. I think part of that is a holdover from George W. Bush as well, but we don't have the same level of credibility or support from our allies that we once did. So, and I think that is dangerous because there's going to come a time, and I've said this for a while, there's going to come a time when we're going to need our allies. And in needing our allies, we want them to be able to step up and go arm by arm and shoulder to shoulder with us on what the issue of the day may be. I'm not so sure that that would happen today as it would have 4 or 5 years ago. Just am not sure that that would happen. That makes me very sad because we have been the global leader, and we have been the country that other countries looked up to for how to do things. And this particular process that we're going through now with this trial is absolutely horrific. And I am sad that we have to do this, but I see no choice in what they did, because we can't allow. I would be in favor of this if it was a Democrat in office. You cannot allow the president to stonewall investigations like he is the king and not the president. It's not the way our system was designed. We can't allow that to stand. It must be challenged, and that has to be torn down. And if you're a conservative, by God, you would want that too, because if you don't, when a Democrat goes in there, you run the same risk. You run the same risk. And you don't want to tear at the fabrics of our democracy. One of the things that I've learned in the past few years, and especially in reading this book, Understanding the Constitution, by this lady, Stephanie, who's a law professor, she has pointed out to me something that I guess I really didn't understand clearly until I'm reading her book. The Constitution is fragile. Our nation is held together by a lot of norms and traditions that have been accepted as the way we do things. And when you start throwing those out, they are oftentimes not coupled with rules. So think about it. I would like to thank you so much for listening to the African American Scene. I'm sorry I got on my little soapbox there, but thank you for listening. God bless. Be safe, and I will see you next Wednesday right here for the African American Scene.
Don't you worry about a thing, Rudy. It all makes great radio. Right. The African American Scene with Rudy Howard every Wednesday evening in the 6 o'clock hour with archives on YouTube. Look for WPSL TV on YouTube and find archives of Rudy Howard's African American Scene. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast, celebrating over 26 years and counting.